home screen shows us projections based on annual returns for investments staying the same through time. It is a static analysis compared to the more dynamic analysis we see in the Monte Carlo section. On the home screen, I like to start with the projected investment area. The projected investment value at John's retirement for this couple is a little over $2 million. At Jane's retirement, they are projected to have a little over $1.7 million. It is important to point out that these are the combined investments of both of these people at these two retirement dates. It is not just John's money or Jane's money, it's both combined. The projected investment value at the end of the plan is projected to be a little over $1.2 million. End of the plan means the last person's life expectancy. It is also very important to point out that these values are in today's dollar terms, which means inflation is stripped out of the final numbers. We do this because inflation can cause these numbers to be so large after 10, 20, or 30 years that it becomes nonsensical and impossible to understand. By stripping out inflation, we put everything in today's dollar terms or real dollar terms, so they are much easier to understand. This kind of thing is done all the time when comparing the cost of items across long time periods. If we don't adjust for inflation, then comparing dollar values over time becomes simply impossible to understand. On the left-hand side of this screen, we show all the investments you have either linked or entered manually. You can see the total investment value here and the total net worth. The dates under each account shows if they were linked and the last time they refreshed. If an account has a red exclamation point, it means something has gone wrong with the linking. You can click on that and get more information on what went wrong and what to do next. Also, by clicking on an account, you are taken to the holdings section, which shows you all the holdings in that account. I want to take a minute to explain how valuable this investment information is and how our access to detailed information on the underlying holdings really sets WealthTrace apart, since WealthTrace is the only financial planning application for consumers that has this level of detail. In this example, the investment accounts are linked, which means their balances and underlying holdings update every day. We are able to retrieve every mutual fund, ETF, stock, and bond that this couple owns. We also retrieve the type of asset class each holding falls into, such as growth stocks, international stocks, short-term treasury bonds, and many others. Note that you don't have to link accounts to create your own individual holdings. You can do this manually as well and assign the asset classification to each holding in the account. Because of our access to holding level details, WealthTrace can accurately assign historical rates of return and volatility to each holding. You know what they say about models, garbage in, garbage out. Well, this is the opposite of that. This is detailed information in and accurate results out. Any financial or retirement planning calculator that doesn't know what you own simply cannot be accurate, and it's honestly dangerous to use. It's garbage in, garbage out. I now want to look at the asset allocation pie chart. The asset allocation pie chart shows us how our investment assets are distributed. In this plan, they have linked their accounts, so the program is actually drilling down into every holding that they own to determine this asset allocation. Being able to view your asset allocation is a fundamental part of financial planning. Not only can you see if you are diversified enough, you're also able to track if your portfolio is out of sync with your allocation goals. For this plan we're looking at, the asset allocation updates every day since the accounts are linked. Also notice there's a time for allocation after reallocating, and it reallocates at John's retirement. This is a setting we will discuss a bit more later, but it allows you to tell the program that at a future date, you will move to a different mix of assets. Usually people reallocate to a more conservative mix when they get older, and that's what is happening here. WealthTrace also has a lot of graphs that give you valuable information and help you understand your financial situation. The first graph shows you how expenses are paid for using various income sources and investment assets. You can hover over each bar and get more information where the money is coming from. You can click off items in the legend and drill down into items in that chart. For investment balances, you can see all the investments grouped by investment type, or you can look at each investment's balance projected through time. I mentioned earlier that a big focus of the WealthTrace Planner is to show you how close you are to running out of money. In the investment balances graph, if there is a shortfall in any year, which means you didn't have enough income or investment principal to pay for expenses that year, you will see a bright red bar in the year that the shortfall occurs. You can also see how funds are spent and your income versus expenses to see if there's any income shortfall in any year. In this graph, if the expense line is above the income line, you know there's an income shortfall. We also have very handy sliders that show you what happens if you change an important variable. For example, I can move the retirement age for John and watch the results change in real time. I mentioned before that if there's a shortfall, it will show up in bright red in the graphs below. I'm going to increase their expenses so much that there will be a shortfall. And you can see it here. No money left at the end of the plan, and here's where the shortfall occurs. You can also see how results change if they save more money, or if you change their returns on investments. If you have goals that you entered, you can change those as well. For example, if I want to see what happens if the travel budget changes, I can do that here. Nothing I changed in the sliders will save unless I actually click the save button next to my changes. So these are a great way to run quick scenarios and get feedback on what the changes might do to your plan.